It's Monday, the 10th of June, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1, former Treasurer Peter Costello has stepped down as chair of Nine Entertainment days after an altercation with a journalist in Canberra Airport.
In that altercation, the journalist ended up on the ground and it appeared that Mr. Costello veered into him. The former politician has been in charge of Nine for 8 years. He'll be superseded by the group's deputy chair, Catherine West. Mr. Costello presided over Nine during a pretty turbulent time for the media. Well, not just Nine, but the whole sector more broadly. Advertising revenue has been shifting away from traditional media towards major tech platforms like Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Mr. Costello's exit follows a board meeting on Friday. Nine's share price is now about $1.40. It's down 30% this year.
All right, on to story number 2. A Mexican-themed fast food chain, Guzman has increased its initial public offer by nearly $100 million to $335 million, and its largest shareholder will sell more of its stake.
Guzman first flagged its $2.2 billion float plans a week ago. Late on Friday, it said it had received a commitment from funds associated with Capital Research Global Investors to subscribe for shares at the offer price of $22 per share, according to the Fin Review. The IPO offer size has been increased from $243 million to $335 million, reflecting a sell-down of about $93 million by one of its biggest shareholders, TDM Growth Partners. Its holding in Guzman will end up at 26.2%. This is a float that seems to be full steam ahead.
Sean, I love this next story, story number 3, simply because it contains a word that I have never heard before. So we're talking about green bonds here, and more than 100 investors across 5 continents have bought Australia's first ever green bond, including 15 institutions new to Australian government bonds.
So the final order book of the $7 billion 10-year offer drew $23 billion in bids, way more than needed to fund $7 billion. And the Australian Office of Financial Management estimates that the issue paid a greenium of 2 basis points above nominal bonds. What's that mean? They're prepared to pay a little bit more to get a bond that is doing the right thing for the environment. So if investors, if they're paying a bit more, they receive a slightly lower return compared to traditional bonds. The bonds demonstrate the commitment to a sustainable environment generally. 2/3 were sold to domestic investors, 12% to those in the UK, plus a few other places. The money will be used in programs to finance specific projects to support the country's transition to zero net carbon emissions.
Story number 4, Sean. Israeli forces rescued 4 hostages held by Hamas since October in a raid in Gaza over the weekend, but Palestinian officials say that the raid killed more than 200 people, one of the single bloodiest Israeli assaults of the 8-month-old war.
The hostage rescue operation and an intense accompanying air assault took place in central Gaza in a densely built-up area. Israel forces came under intense fire, they said, during the assault. They responded by firing from the air and from the street, according to a spokesperson who was speaking to Reuters. Gazan paramedics and residents said the assault killed scores of people, left bodies, men, women and children strewn across the marketplace and a mosque. Very tragic.
Indeed it is. Last one, Sean. Story number 5, something a little bit lighter to finish on. Investor Bill Gross, once known as the Bond King, is looking to set a different investment record next week when the highlights of his rare stamp collection go under the hammer in New York.
Gross, who built the most complete collection of US stamps in history, is putting it for sale piece by piece. Pre-sale estimates suggest the sale could bring $15 to $20 million and set a record for a US stamp collection. The most valuable piece, an 1868 1-cent Z-Grill, it's called, probably Z-Grill really. It would shatter the record for a single US stamp if it goes for its pre-sale estimate of $4 to $5 million. There's only one other copy. It's owned by the New York Public Library, according to the Financial Times. The current record is a single inverted Jenny stamp named for the mistaken print of an upside-down aeroplane. It sold a few years back for $2 million. Mr. Gross's interest in stamps apparently comes from his mum, who bought stamps in the 1930s and 40s, hoping they'd eventually pay for his college education.
I know that story came from the Financial Times, Sean, but wouldn't it be fitting if instead a stamp collection was covered in the Washington Post?
Oh, move on.
Well, we're pretty much done. Sorry, got to scroll down.
Thankfully.
Well, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 10th of June, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.